Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Meehan Mission Podcast. I'm Cathy Meehan, and today's special guest is Greg Glaser. He is an attorney that lives in California. And as you know, I love to introduce our audience to people that they may know or they may not know to get a little bit of insight in what they are doing in their particular industry. And Greg, I know that you are an advocate for medical freedom when it comes to rights. So can you give our audience a little bit of background on how'd you pick of all topics in all areas of law to go into medical freedom?
Sure. As a lawyer, I realized very quickly that vaccines was going to be the way that we could lose our constitutional rights. It's the one invasive procedure that the government forces on others without their consent or coerces upon others, as we saw during COVID. So I got in early, about 15 years ago, in working with the Pandemic Response Project, and then became the General Counsel for Physicians for Informed Consent, where we educate about the risks of vaccines. So yeah, my focus has been the constitutional side, your rights. And what that looks like is day to day, I help parents and schools navigate the mandatory vaccine law in California, which hopefully we'll be able to overturn soon.
Yeah, that would be great. You know, we get parents that contact us looking for vaccine exemptions for their children in California. And, you know, honestly, we don't have a lot of good news for them. What is the latest on vaccine exemptions for kids in California? And what type of calls do you get? And how are you able to navigate through that and guide them?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of creative solutions. The key thing to remember is you never have to get vaccinated. Ever. There's always a way, there's always a solution. We just have to find it. So I encourage folks to call me and then we can go into more detail on what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I will be sure to include your contact information in the description below, because I know that we will be sending people your way when they're specifically in California and looking for those vaccine exemptions.
Yeah, and also I don't charge either. It's a free service, and we do it through Physicians for Informed Consent. So you can send them either to me or PIC. And our goal is just to help parents. You know, we are there to support. And, you know, the parents are doing the heavy lifting, which is raising unvaccinated children, which is amazing. Yeah. That's the future.
Yes.
And so we're happy to step in and do what we can to make sure that your school experience goes well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, I want to talk about Physicians for Informed Consent, because a lot of people don't realize that there is this growing group of not only attorneys, but also physicians that are really starting to be those critical thinkers that we need. And they're kind of digging into the information and some of that, you know, maybe censored data that they can't find. And with you helping them, are you guys seeing like a big growth in the area of physicians really, I want to say, coming over to our side? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's really the term, but how is that going? And not only physicians, but also attorneys.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm really glad that you asked. The attorneys are coming over our side a lot quicker than the doctors. COVID was the sea shift where we just grew exponentially. And I'm glad that you asked me because this is right up our alley. This is what we do day to day. We are on the front lines of social media. LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and we're debating the doctors and the PhDs. We're on the front lines because a lot of people are kind of afraid of that. They don't want to debate the doctors. You know, they want to say what they want to say, but they want to say it to the choir. We go right in, right where the fire is, and we debate them on their own turf. And that is, I think, a service that we offer to the community, and we make change there. So folks can follow us at, just go to physiciansforinformedconsent.org and follow us on any of the platforms, especially X.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. You know, specifically, you know, we are constantly interviewing pediatricians to help join our Mindset Kids program. And we are finding some of them are like, they're kind of iffy and they're still vaccinating. And again, you know, I have to tell everybody, I don't tell you not to vaccinate, but I'm definitely going to point you in the direction of where you can get some more knowledge so that you are going to be able to make your own decision about why you aren't going to vaccinate. But I think, maybe I should start sending some physicians over your direction also so that they can gather some of that information that they haven't found.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
I would say there are 4 doctors organizations that are really leading the way, and we all support and love each other.
Mhm.
And we all kind of have our own focus. And one of them is MAPS. That's the pediatric group,
Yes.
right? They're amazing.
And I'll be there in September at their conference in Scottsdale. So,
Very good.
yeah.
And then, the next one is the Independent Medical Alliance, IMA. They were known as Frontline COVID Care Alliance.
Yes.
And so they're doing great work. Like they have a journal, they do educational. It's a great way to bring on doctors. Their thing is treating chronic disease. So they've never been more relevant than right now because of
Absolutely.
what's happening. And Kennedy's report's coming out August 12th. These are very exciting times. So you got MAPS, IMA. We just talked about PIC. Our focus is vaccines. If you want to know about the risk of the vaccine versus the risk of the disease, we are your people.
Yeah.
We've got that canvassed. We have the data. It's all a nice presentation. It's very shareable. You will never get kicked off of social media for sharing our materials because we cite official sources. That's our thing. That's been our focus.
Yeah.
And the 4th group I'd mention is the American Academy of Physicians and Surgeons, AAPS. Their focus for years, I think since 1943, if I'm correct, has been the private practice of medicine. So for them, it's just about the independence of the physician. Huge respecters of informed consent. They got it right on COVID. They knew.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, the complete opposite of the AMA, which we don't even want to go there. But talking about the vaccinated, unvaccinated. I want you to briefly talk about the control group where you were legal counsel back in around 2020.
Sure.
And how did that come about, and what were the results that you guys found?
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much for asking. Well, the control group is the vaccinated versus unvaccinated study that we did. And what I'd be happy to do is share my screen so that you can see the pilot survey graph that we did. What we did was we compared the vaccinated to the unvaccinated. So meaning we did a survey of unvaccinated families, about 1,500, and which is a huge data set. That's more than the CDC asks. And we use the same method. Well, not always more than they ask, but in many situations, it's more than they ask. So our statistical confidence was above 99%. So what we found was that the unvaccinated are the healthiest people on the planet. They don't have these diseases that are common in chronic illness. And we tried to use the most vetted government data that we could. That's the orange side of the graph. That's national data, the vaccinated. And the unvaccinated is on the other side. Sometimes we have to stratify among the unvaccinated because some people, like, this might surprise you, but some mothers got the vaccine during pregnancy and then didn't vaccinate their babies because there was some intervening event where they figured it out not to vaccinate. And so those babies look very vaccinated. But when you exclude that subgroup, you find that the unvaccinated have virtually no chronic illnesses. And that's extraordinary. So here we have chronic conditions in adults, and it's the same with adults. If you can believe it, there actually are completely unvaccinated adults. There's not too many of them. There's only about, we estimate that there might be about 250,000 or so, maybe a million. It's hard to estimate, but we do know that from our sample survey, these people don't have multiple chronic conditions. Less than 1% had 2 conditions. Only about 5% had 1 condition. Usually it's very small. But if you compare the vaccinated group, more than half of them have something.
Crazy.
It gets wilder.
Yeah.
No heart disease among the unvaccinated, but obviously it's very high in the vaccinated group. Diabetes, we couldn't find any. Digestive disorders. Think about the pain. Think about the suffering of children who can't eat bread, or they have to limit sugar. It's hell.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like these graphs they're not just graphs. They're not just data. You're looking at the pain of vaccination, right? Yeah. But it's not, that pain does not exist in the unvaccinated. And we just found it. No matter what we looked at, here's eczema. And we calculated things, as you can see on the right. We
Yeah.
exact risk factor for the scientists who want to know. And so this was our case that we brought. And we brought all of this evidence. It was, as far as I know, it was the most comprehensive scientific case ever brought into federal court that showed the risk of vaccination. Mm-hmm. And we relied on approximately 5,000 pages of vetted government-based, like PubMed material, and presented it all to the court saying, look, a reasonable parent would object to vaccines, or at least could object to vaccines.
Right.
And here's 5,000 pages of work. And we even did a pilot survey. It matches the other surveys. Like, clearly there's something here to look at. Judge, you got to respect this. You got to say that these parents have a right to opt out. And even if you love vaccines so much that you believe they're the best thing ever in saving lives, you still need a control group of unvaccinated in order to say that, that vaccines are safe.
Good point.
You always need a control group. So it doesn't matter which side you come out. And the judge just didn't take it. And then he said no. He said, no, I don't support this. You can't bring this case. You can't sue the government for this. You're asking, your request is too broad. You want me to, give the right to opt out to every parent.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That's what we want. Yeah.
and we filed this case. We were the first on the scene after COVID because we knew the vaccine was coming. So if our case had won, we would have been able to prevent all of those mandatory vaccinations. People could have gotten shots if they wanted, but at least you would have been able to go to work, go to school, et cetera. And so there's a great weight that I feel of not prevailing in that case. I suppose it's some consolation that we were able to get the judge kicked off the case because he owned pharma stock.
Really?
Yeah. So we got that judge kicked off. We got another judge kicked off at the appellate court for the same reason, owning pharma stock. But ultimately, it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we didn't get it. We could not persuade 4 judges to step up, 4 justices to step up and take the case. I don't know how many supported our case. Perhaps it was 3 justices. Perhaps Thomas and Alito supported our case. We don't know. It was a closed door proceeding, but that was our case. We asked for comprehensive relief, and the lesson was that courts are not great places for that type of comprehensive relief. They don't like to issue the sweeping orders. They're much more narrow focus. So the kind of wins that we're seeing, especially lately, are the religious exemption wins. That's like, for example, the win in Mississippi where parents have the right to a religious exemption for the reason that the state already recognizes medical exemption. So they put 2 exemptions on parity. And that's called the equal protection, your right of equal protection. So if somebody else gets a benefit, you get the same benefit as long as you're in the same class or category. And the Mississippi court said, well, these unvaccinated people are in the same category. One wants a medical exemption, one wants a religious. It's the same category. So if the government wants to offer a secular medical exemption, they have to offer a religious exemption as well. So that argument won in Mississippi, and it's continuing to win because of the amazing law firm, Siri Glimstad, and also the organization ICANN that has been leading that way. They have a program, a campaign. It's called Free the 5. And it's like the cavalry arrived, and they're here to regain our rights to religious exemption in all of the problem states. So that means that folks can go to school again, they can go to work again. And all of this is coming at just the perfect time because Secretary Kennedy is now in power, and he gained it in February of 2025. So he's only been in power for about 6 months, but in that time he has received from President Trump the MAHA executive order. A lot of people think MAHA is just a political movement. It's not. It's a law. It's an executive order that says that Kennedy's responsibility is to identify the issues of chronic illness in our country, which he did in May. He issued a full report about issues of chronic illness. And then he has a follow-up report coming up on August 12th, might come out a little bit sooner, where it's going to be Kennedy's strategy to solve chronic illness. And that is some of the amazing work that you're doing, Cathy, is sharing how we treat chronic illness. And So there's good work that is being done, and I believe the future is very bright for our children.
Right. I believe it's very bright too. And, a lot of people, and it's, you could probably give some insight on this. And they're like disappointed that the COVID vaccine isn't completely wiped out yet. And my thought process is, you can't just come in and put the hammer down and say no more COVID vaccine. I mean, I believe people like you, like me, like many of us that have been in this fight against the mandate of vaccines, whether it was childhood or COVID, we've seen the data and the dangers and the destruction, but we've got to get into the minds of the people that are so have like some sort of a biased confirmation that the vaccines, whether it's COVID or childhood vaccines, are still, the cat's meow. I mean, that is, that's preventative medicine, which it's not. But and I understand. I believe that Kennedy is doing more like of a chess game of being transparent and letting all the lack of data and some of the other data, like your, the control group reports and those kinds of things, to really leak into the brains of the people that are so adamant that vaccines save lives. I mean, what's your thought on that? Because, I mean, there's people out there that are really hating on Bobby Kennedy. For not doing enough. And I'm just like, people, be patient.
Be patient. Yeah. The thing is that Kennedy is navigating a bureaucratic deep state.
Oh, absolutely.
They throw up obstacles at him all the time. And yet still, he is able to make more change in 6 months than we've seen from any HHS secretary in history. Yes. He has gotten corporate titans to capitulate, removing all sorts of dyes. That would take years of litigation. He has already completely disbanded the ACIP Council, which is a necessary requirement, by the way, to stop things like the COVID shot. You can't just get rid of it. Like, it's got to go through this procedure. Right. Otherwise, he would get sued, to get tied up in litigation and all that. So he's doing the things that he needs to do. And so, and further, while he's doing all of these things that are unprecedented, he's just posting win after win on X and social media. And you can see it because he's putting out these videos. They're amazing videos. They're like heartwarming. He's creating change that is like generational lasting for children and for adults. Like, for example, he teamed up with an organization to deliver meals without dyes to the elderly. It's kind of like Meals on Wheels. And like, it's stuff like that. That's God's work. Like, like meeting the neediest people and like getting the meals. Like, he's got a lot, you might say, on his plate, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing this. And if you follow it, you just see these wins week after week. And he's continually canvassing and highlighting all the issues that are important to us. Fluoride, which DOJ is fighting him on right now. And again, that's that bureaucratic deep state. They fight him, but he stands up. He's going after fluoride. He's going after even chemtrails. He's made that statement repeatedly. Obviously going after vaccines, because he's advocating for a safe approach and real analysis of the risk. He is a science dedicated guy. And are things going to change overnight? They are not. I'm sorry for anyone who might have thought that was the case, but they are changing. And there is good news every day, every week. I've never been more optimistic.
Me too. I'm a very optimistic person on that too. And the other point of that is, with him being in the position that he's in and just mentioning these things, I think that's really rallying up the people, because it is a lot of this, it was grassroots from the beginning when we started in the whole, the corruption in the childhood vaccination schedule. I about 10 years ago, really, is when my husband Jim and I started getting into this. And to how far we've come since then is just tremendous. And the more he talks about these things, it's like, I'm just happy people are reading food labels, right? Start there. Start there. And then once you start doing that, then you like, oh, and you're injecting what into children? Yeah. People don't understand that because, we've kind of grown up to trust our doctors, trust our attorneys, trust the government. And he's really like throwing out these little bombshells to really get people to start thinking for themselves, which is very important.
Really changing the culture, and changing the culture is necessary to changing industry, because that's what this is. It's like imagine a giant ship, right? And when you turn a giant ship, it takes a lot to turn it. And that's like changing the culture. But eventually, once the ship has made its turn, you cannot stop that ship. That's the point of what's happening right now. And so if we just focus on the little wins, like how Kennedy cleaned out the ACIP commission because of all of their conflicts of interest, we only see the myopic, which is, okay, well, what did they do with RSV and aluminum and flu shots? But when you see the bigger picture of the ship that's shifting, you see, this is coming for all of the shots. This is about true reform, all of the conflicts of interest, all of the adjuvants. This is about looking at things with fresh eyes, which is so needed. And so I think that we will see within a certain amount of months and especially the years that come up until the conclusion of this administration, we will see changes that will be generational, so that the children will have cleaner air and cleaner water. They'll have access to remedies. And the thing is that a lot of the work that's being done, the best work, is being done in the private sector. It's the doctors and the healers who are offering solutions, and people are finally searching for them, in the post-COVID world. So Kennedy will do his part, the private sector will do its part, and all together we change the culture for the big win. And who gets that win? We're doing it for the children. That's the point.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have to stand up for the kids. I mean, I feel like it's the adults that got us into this huge mess, right? and it's going to take us, and I love the younger generations that are, they're coming up and they're actually looking for alternatives too. So I have a lot of hope for the kids coming up. I know my kids are, I have grandkids now, unvaccinated. It's kind of funny. I've got my own little study. We vaccinated our children. We had eczema, pneumonia, the asthma, delayed speech, all of those things. And then we've got our grandkids, and they are, kicking up the dirt and hardly sick, or if they are sick, it's like over in a heartbeat.
Nice.
And it's just, I also feel like the censorship has, loosened a little bit. So we've got a lot more mom groups out there talking, and
that's really important. Yeah. Mike Benz is one of the voices who made it very clear that the powers that be that really have polluted our earth and polluted healthcare, they are most afraid of free speech. They are most afraid of the absence of censorship.
Yes.
Because they already control institutions, but the thing they can't control is the public momentum. And great philosophers like Eric Hoffer have said, he won a Presidential Medal of Freedom, have said that leaders can only lead people where they're already going. And that's been observed by many people, including, I think, Mike Benz observing here, that once the public opinion shifts, once that ship changes course, then the leaders follow suit. We talk a lot about like changing out the leaders, and that's important. But ultimately, when we change the public opinion, when we change the culture, then that's when the future gets really bright. And you can see it's already happening for the children. And I believe this is our fight, our build, our time, and not the children's fight. This is not their war. They didn't vote on fluoride. They didn't have a chance to do anything about it, but it's what we did. This is our time to make that change. So now is a great time for activists to stand up in whatever you do. And you see this in the health freedom movement. We're a very welcoming movement. Like whatever you're good at, whatever your interest is, there is room for you. Find an organization that is doing what you like and get involved. Share their information, learn about it, talk with other people. It is a grassroots movement, and it's going to continue to be. And just because we're the majority, it doesn't mean that we're not still grassroots. The best work is done often by moms and dads talking with friends and family. Never be to do for that. And so, and never feel like you have to wait or have somebody, knight you and say, okay, you're now an advocate. You're already there. You're already an advocate. We're all ambassadors for health, for freedom and truth.
So well said. And it just takes that little piece of conversation to get started. And I always talk about, just planting seeds. That's really, that's what we started doing, and just planting seeds. And the more seeds you plant, the more knowledge you gain, the more confident you become. That's the other thing. It's, and the more people that are in this movement, the more courageous you are to speak out and talk about alternatives, or just asking people, have you ever thought about what you inject into your children? No one asked me that when I was vaccinating my children.
Oh, don't you wish?
No. Yeah. I mean, it would be a completely different conversation now, but, and that was, 20, 30 years ago, and nobody said anything. And I have the same thought. It's like, one of the things that motivates me tremendously to do this work is thinking that I want to help give the resources to the moms who could have spoke to my mom in 1978, right? Yeah.
I want to create the kind of environment, the kind of free speech, knowledgeable environment where not only do you have the information, but it's accessible, it makes sense, it's something you can share, and reach those moms and dads. And and a lot of the best techniques to reach them involve speaking to them where they are, and oftentimes that begins with a very simple question like, do you use organic apples when you make an apple pie? Just kind of work with something they are already into, and then, because I believe all of these subject matters, they all come to the same ultimate conclusion, which is like good health and so forth. And you can get there through any avenue. A lot of us got there through organic food. Some people come through just noticing that there's all these lines in the sky. And why is that? What is that geoengineering? Why does it have aluminum? Is that harmful to us? Are we supposed to ingest aluminum? How much aluminum can you ingest?
Right.
And you just start asking these questions, and then pretty soon, guess where you are? You're in the health freedom movement.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, it's a big group, and which I think really was important, that COVID, when it came along at the time that it did, it brought all of these different groups together, because it brought the vaccine people together. It brought the banking industry people together. It brought the geoengineering people together. It brought the homeschool people together, the attorneys. I mean, I don't think that, they realized what they created when they tried to mandate and get away with this COVID vaccine. I mean, it backfired on them and completely.
Forced error.
Yeah.
They allied groups that would have never allied pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
You just saw this existential threat, and it was so easy after COVID, as being someone on the, inside of the health freedom movement, someone who's like I'm the General Counsel for PIC, so I kind of understand what it's like to make alliances and so forth. We have the largest coalition, for example, the Coalition for Informed Consent, with 350 organizations. So I know what it's like to get groups together and talking. It's never been easier.
Yeah.
Just everyone already gets it. There's an existential threat. It's the people doing the COVID tyranny. Let's all join forces and put whatever, different views we had behind, because this is about not just survival, but thriving. And I think that's the key, is that you started to see a lot of these new coming groups recognize what that looks like. And they started to adopt language, and conversely, but vice versa. For example, one way that our health freedom movement changed was we all took an interest in ivermectin, which is a pharmaceutical. And that was new, because most of us were just absolute zealots when it came to rejecting, anything that was
right.
Right. And, but we were like, okay, these ivermectin people seem pretty cool. They're they're reducing the fear. This is a remedy. And then as it turns out, it cures cancer too. So
that was so eye-opening, I think, to so many people, just to expose the corruption in the government. And those days of COVID, honestly, we kept people out of the hospital with ivermectin. We had home oxygen sent to their homes. We had home IVs going to their homes. We had people that would literally put ivermectin in their Bible and bring it to their patients in the hospital because they couldn't see them, or like how to mix it in a shake and send them a shake and all this. Oh my gosh. I don't want to ever go back to those days, but I don't know if they're going to get away with that again. I really hope not. It might be a different virus or disease or whatever, but I don't think people are going to comply quite like they did in the beginning with COVID, and I hope not. But that kind of transitions into something a little bit fun, because we thought the world was going to end. We need to leave the city and move out to the country and start our own little homestead. And I just wanted to briefly touch. I heard you're a homesteader too.
Yep, organic homesteader.
Organic homesteader. So what? Anybody that's interested in like maybe homesteading, we've been doing it for 3 years now. And I will tell you a little secret. We bought a cow because we thought we needed to milk our own cow right when we moved out. And we've decided that it's too hard to milk your own cow right now. It's very time consuming. So we buy our milk. Anyway, just want to say that for people, it is a work in progress. When I have to milk my own cow, I will again milk my own cow. But right now it's so much easier to buy it. So that being said, tell me about your homestead and how do people even get the idea to do homestead?
Well, I started over a decade ago, and it is, I started with a very romantic view of what farming was, almost like the Instagram view.
That was my cow. It was very romantic.
It's amazing. This would be so easy. Everything's gorgeous. But then when you get into it, you find that it's dirty, it's dusty, it's hard work, it's consistent. Sometimes you get stuff that comes up like a broken pipe in the middle of the night. And you're like, and if you know how to fix a broken pipe in the dark, you will not be able to do this. So there's just, and life is abundant, meaning that it is the things that you want to grow. There are things that want to eat what you grow.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? There's going to be critters, they're going to come at you and you'll create a system, and then that system will break, and then you have to fix it and refine it. So homesteading is an absolute journey, but it's worth it. My advice is keep your day job when you do it. It's hard to like the people who make money doing it, like small farming and stuff, they thrive. And a great resource for that is Joel Salatin, who you've had on the show.
Yes, I have. Yes, Joel, he's great resource. And Will Harris out of Georgia. They are both just phenomenal regenerative farmers. Mm-hmm.
So those are the guys who take it to the next level. Like I'm not nearly at that level at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very few people are. Right.
Right. So, but I think part of the issue for me with it was having that romantic view that I had to lose over time. And then pretty soon I found I was using, because you need tools, and the tools come from light industrial, and that was hard for me because I wanted to do all organic and as natural as possible, but I'm not Amish, so I'm using, and even the Amish actually use polytubing, for example. And so, but we keep it organic, we keep it as natural as possible. But I definitely recommend that people understand the systems that do work. There's a saying in ranching, which is never take down a fence until you know why it was put up in the first place.
Oh, that's probably some great advice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I recommend folks get nice, good, clean land with water, access to water, and then start with a permaculture model. So you start kind of close to your house and you build out, start with gardens and then build out, but start close and then build out with what's successful and learn what's successful. Talk to your neighbors.
That's good.
Grow that way. Yeah. Permaculture, I think, is going to be the future.
I think that's great. Well, and I just had this flash in my head this morning. I was on the porch drinking coffee and one of the puppies came with a baby chick in his mouth. So it's like my daughter's quote is, if you have livestock, you have dead stock. So that was like a really big learning curve for us about how many, like the cycle of life when you're on the farm. So but it's been a journey, and I agree with you. It's like, we started 3 years ago, and it is a work in progress. It's like we started with this little garden and what would grow, what wouldn't grow. And then the next year the garden got a little bigger. And then this next year, now it's a little bit bigger. And we know, like I said, what grows and what doesn't grow, and meeting our neighbors and all that. But I highly recommend it to anyone that has the opportunity to, get a little plot of land and know your neighbors and just get out of the city, really get out of the city. So
it might be increasingly important. I have a theory as to what direction we're going. And I developed this theory after really learning about smart cities. And what I learned, because I worked for Children's Health Defense and won a case against the city of Los Angeles, where we exposed their smart city. And we got a court order that says that you do not need a digital ID, even in a smart city. So we're the first lawyers to ever get a court order that says that, to my knowledge.
Okay, that is very important. And I just want you to reiterate what you're talking about when it comes to your freedoms and the surveillance that the government is trying to put down on us, because I know even Tulsa, Oklahoma is turning into a smart city, and there's many cities around. And so if you will elaborate a little bit on that, on really what is a smart city and what's going on with all of this surveillance technology.
Yes. So a smart city is a marketing pitch. It's just a phrase for surveillance technology. It just means they're putting a bunch of cameras and monitoring in your area. And it's not limited to the city. So basically the term smart city is a lie on both fronts. It is neither, it's not smart. Smart means surveillance, and it's not a city. It's everywhere. They're bringing it everywhere. Just like, do you remember when the first computers came out, Cathy? And they were kind of clunky and not many people had them.
Yeah. And big and expensive and right.
It's like, that's what the vision that they want you to believe. That's, oh, don't worry about this. This is just in Los Angeles. This is just in New York. Don't worry, it's not coming to you. It is. It's already coming to you. They're bringing it everywhere. They're rolling out in the countrysides, and you start to see it. You see the towers go up. You see the small cells go up. And then the street lamps is another thing. I was shocked when I started looking at these government documents, and when in the case we won, when I was looking at the government documents, LA already has a ton of streetlights. They were tripling the size of their street light budget. That's because they're all smart.
Really? Yeah.
The streetlights are not like regular streetlights. For example, I grew up in a suburban town, in a little town called Danville, and we had a normal streetlight. When the streetlight came on, it was time for dinner, right? Dinner. It's time to go eat dinner. Not today. Today's street lamps are, not all of them, but the new ones are cameras with listening devices. And they also have other features like crowd control and things like that in certain areas. But the point is that they don't just have cameras on the street. They don't just listen on the street. They have a radius that actually can go inside of buildings. Moreover, it's not just a camera. It's a camera connected to AI. It's not just a microphone. It's a microphone connected to AI. So they constantly 24/7 analyze. Whereas in 1980s Danville, where I grew up, even if they had camera footage, there was nothing they could do with it. They couldn't analyze it or anything. Like it was, I imagine analyzing all Americans in the 1980s.
Right, yeah, but putting it through AI, oh goodness.
Instant analysis. And so the only question is, what is the cost to roll this stuff out? And as long as they have funding for it, they're going to keep doing it. And so then this brings me to my big theory. Okay. And this is very important for your listeners to know. Because if I'm right, this could change your life and the future of your generations. Okay, here it is. I think that the future is going to be low-tech parallel economy communities. Kind of like think HOAs, right? You know, an HOA would have like 1,000 houses, 5,000 houses, something like that. Like that. I think that's where the future is. That more people are going to want to start these low-tech communities. No towers, no fluoride, no Wi-Fi. It's all just wired Ethernet connection, limited cell phone usage, that type of thing. Like just people who are generally aware, Right. And then hubs, like hubs for organic food, a little bit of light industrial, but like kind of like almost like a throwback where people have crafts. Like, how you walk downtown and there's actually a place where they make crafts. You know,
Right. Well, yeah, just going back in time almost, really. Yeah.
That's what people want. And they will pay for it. They will leave their communities to get that. They will reform their communities to get that. And so I think that it's not going to happen overnight, but when an opportunity comes, if you can get into that sort of thing, then you'll be ahead of the curve. Because I looked at the tech people. They're not going to slow down. They're going all in. Like they want to merge with this technology, and I don't know that Congress is going to stop them and whatnot. Like I think there's just going to be this.
Nothing's going to stop them either. I mean, there are people. There's
the Lord.
Well, yes, but there's still Jesus followers that want all that technology, right? I mean, they want more technology. They're fine with the technology, and then there's, I don't think they've stopped believing, but I want to take some of that back, the way that came out, or they don't see that. But there are people that really, they thrive on the technology. And, but then there's other people that are, I guess, like you talked about, more like a parallel alternative. We're going to have low tech. That's really a great way to put, you're going to have your low tech people and your high tech people, no matter what. So
it's going to be low tech in-group preference communities where, you just have to meet certain criteria to even get into the community. And that might make some people uncomfortable, but I think that's ultimately what people want. And in a way, it's kind of like social media, or at least it's how it started. Remember how Facebook, you had to be invited in. It was like this sort of club. And, and in some ways it still is. You have to be, like a friend, and they have to say yes and whatnot. So I think that model is actually really powerful, that people want some exclusivity. They want they want standards, because over the last 10 years, we've seen the wokes, and they don't have standards, right?
Right. They're all over the place.
They're dirty. Their ideologies are dangerous. It's just they lack moral authority. And so I think this is what people want, and it's called the parallel economy. So it already has a name, and there's already been successful attempts to do it, but mostly it's been university professors spending a lot of money building little micro communities, and they'll build them around a central organic farm, and then they'll have little shops, and it works. It totally works. But the issue is that it requires seed capital. It requires millions just to get started. Yeah. I'm familiar with a couple of those projects, and you're right. But there is a demand for those. There's definitely a demand for those. And I say more power. I would love for more of those communities to pop up. Definitely. Yeah. And it's also, the whole thing with supporting local farmers and farmers markets and organic, and in small towns. I don't know how it is in California, but I know in Oklahoma, there's a lot of little towns, and they have little markets, and the more we can support them and local and organic, the more that grows. And it's community and meeting people and with shared ideas. Totally. And this is a great time to say the famous saying, which is less is more. And it comes originally from the Bible. And it's the idea that you must humble yourself if you want to do something great. It is, right? I mean, so this is the idea, is that you grow smaller. These low tech, craft hub, organic food, type of granola living, smaller houses. But that doesn't mean tiny homes. I'm not saying cram people in, just smaller, just more manageable, right?
Yes.
Natural materials. We humble ourselves. And that's where we have the strength, because the people who are going with the high tech living, I think we know where that goes. And it looks like, we already saw a preview of it with the COVID shot. They wanted the mRNA upgrade. It was a poor choice that they made.
Yeah.
And it has consequences. And I know that consequence looks a lot like it looks like clots. It's like heart disease.
Yeah.
And it looks like plagues. It looks like biblical plagues. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that it looks like.
Right.
But we don't see that among the unvaccinated. We don't see the clots, do we? We don't see the heart issues. What we're seeing is the opposite. We see thriving, like your grandchildren. We see thriving.
Yeah, they are thriving.
And that's the message: is that there's a beautiful remnant. There's a group of people, a control group, if you will, is succeeding. And it's always been this way in history, that the Lord always saves his remnant. He always saves the people. He always grows that which is beautiful and good. And large empires, they serve their purpose, but this whole like super high tech transhumanist, rockets to Mars, I'm not into it at all.
I'm like, let's just make the earth healthy. Can we just do that? Let's just focus on making the earth healthy. Yeah. We need to go to Mars and do all of those things. I agree wholeheartedly. Love the idea less is more. Yeah. I know my house, I have a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I call it a cabin in the woods. I mean, it's a little bit more than just a cabin in the woods, but we simplified, and the EMF exposure is almost zero when you're in my front yard. It's so great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You really have to watch. Which, I could probably go on for days with you talking about everything that's going on in the world. But I am so thankful that you took the time to, we finally got all those issues on the camera worked out, but you took the time to help, introduce yourself to our community, because it's a growing group of people that are interested in the same topics. And, again, the less is more. Where can we lessen the EMF, the fluoride, the vaccinations, the medical tyranny that's going on? And we need attorneys like you, Greg, to fight the legal parts where we have to fight that legal part, and keep that grassroots growing as much as we can. So where is anybody going to be able to find you so that I can put those links in the description below?
Sure. California parents can find me at gregglaser.com,
Okay.
GREGLASER.com. And then anyone can find my organization, physiciansforinformedconsent.org.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg, for being with me today. I appreciate you so much, and may God bless you and continue your great work that you're doing. And I'd love to have you on again. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.